Hello and welcome to the Undressing the Spirit podcast, where sex and spirit go hand in hand. Join me, Tamara Powell, on a no-holds-barred adventure into the psyche and beyond every conceivable limit. Welcome back to Undressing the Spirit. I'm your host, Tamara Powell, and today I'm once again joined by the incomparable, the ineffable Alexandra Cavucci for Volume 6 of our joint Cracked Open series. This podversation we've actually entitled, Float on Your Back, Bitch. Why? Because we have learned as human beings and as coaches that there is this phenomenon where we end up fighting against ourselves. We lose touch with ourselves. We become like that buoy that is unmoored, being tossed to and fro by other people's opinions, by culture, by religion, by well-meaning caregivers. And it is absolutely vital as men and women that we find a way to return back to center. Like that Enigma song I was so impassioned with as a teenager, and to be honest, still totally am. I play it on my iPod at least several times a week, right? Return to innocence. At the end of the day, it's always about peeling back the layers and coming back to that deep knowingness of who are you? What do you really want? And so I invite you to come float on your back with us today. Welcome to the Cracked Open series. I'm Tamara Powell.
And I'm Alexandra Cavucci.
And we believe that we're all really just shells hoping to be chiseled open so we can see the universe within.
We hope to pave the way for you if you're looking for a place to be cracked open, unraveled, and join us on this journey.
So we'll show you ours if you'll show us yours. Hey, Alex.
How are you?
Oh, I am good. It's a Friday. The sun is shining.
The sun is not shining here, but I did bring to you extra raspy Friday morning voice for you.
You know I love your raspy voice.
For all the listeners, we record these in the morning, and so we always have some variation of morning voice, PJs, cup of coffee. So feel free to imagine that you're with us for our morning cup of coffee.
I am still in my PJs. That's right. With hair pulled
too.
up.
Yeah, I am too.
No
we
makeup.
Always are. Let's be honest.
I try to even go to work. My clients would tell you as close to in my pajamas as possible. Like maxi dresses and those like wide palazzo pants those are my jam.
I'm usually pretty early bird, ready in the morning, but Friday mornings, and we happen to record this on Friday. Friday morning is like my morning to pretend that I'm sleeping in because my body just wakes up naturally early anyways. And to lounge a little bit. It's like I kind of force myself to just lounge. So you guys always get pajama Alex.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pajama Alex. She's my fave. So today we're talking all about coming back to yourself.
Yes.
So necessary. I feel like we're almost doing that on a moment by moment basis.
If we allow ourselves to, yeah. I feel like we're also often trying to not do that on a moment-to-moment basis in many cases, right?
Good point. Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I've been noticing lately in myself and my own needs, my own desires, and also hearing other people talk about it a lot, right? Like I really need to get back into, I know a lot of people say alignment when they really are talking about coming back to themselves. So I've been hearing it a lot around the circles that I run in, and definitely myself. I've been so called to slow down and come back.
I love that, getting back into alignment, because that term is so overused. And you just like hit the nail on the head with the psychology behind it.
Oh,
it really is, Yes, because even if we're talking strict New Age law of attraction and manifestation, getting into alignment means that I am in a vibrational match for that which I want, which means, ergo, it's all about me being in the center of me. Like
Absolutely.
my feelings have to match what I want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because oftentimes, let's say we're using the law of attraction example, oftentimes we get frustrated by being out of alignment or by not seeing our manifestations and thus keeping ourselves completely away from whatever it is that whatever it is we're focusing on or desiring.
Human beings are so fascinating.
I know. And we create this perpetual cycle of staying away from ourselves in order to get the thing that we think is going to bring us back to ourselves, or in essence, the happiness that we want, the love, the safety, whatever it is that we want. And so we create these cycles of like, focus on what I want, get frustrated that I don't have it, stay away from myself a little more, look for a fix, keep trying to fix, look for a fix, keep trying to fix. When, in essence, we could all probably just sit down, chill the fuck out, and
pipe the fuck down.
Yeah, and cut out that middle area of trying so hard.
I love it. I'm super stoked. This happens to us every time. We're like, I don't know how today's going to go. And then within 3 minutes, we're like, bam, ooh, yeah, ooh, that's so good. I feel like the old Batman, bam, pow, ooh.
I know, and we really don't, for the listeners, we really don't plan anything beforehand. We're like, what do you want to talk about? Cool, let's do it. And all of a sudden, magic starts flying. And I think that's, yeah.
Well, I mean, my planner's like, I have a basic idea, but no, we're certainly not out to my Janus specifications for anything else. That's for damn sure.
Right.
But as you were describing that vicious, nasty cycle, instantly I had this picture of a swimmer getting caught in a rip current. And so when we're searching so hard for a fix, it's like, that's when we're swimming against the current. I'm going to get out of it. I'm going to get out of it. What am I doing? I'm not getting closer to the shore. Oh my God, swim harder, swim harder. When if we would just pipe the fuck down and swim parallel to shore, right?
Absolutely.
Get out of your fucking head.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people, one thing about personal development that I've noticed is, for all the things I love about it, an experience that I had with it was that it started to steer me more towards how do I fix instead of how do I feel?
Ooh.
How do I fix instead
Say
of
that
how I
again.
feel?
Yes.
Yeah, it started to steer me towards how do I fix instead of how do I feel? And I can always see when I'm falling into this pattern of trying to fix instead of trying to feel. And that is when I fall out of alignment under the guise of trying to find my way back into alignment. And it's just a real shit show. and a lot of people do that. And it's such a funny process to watch.
It is. I'm laughing because it's just so common. It's like a fucking Seinfeld episode. They're funny because it's true.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the sappy saying that you see all over social media all the time, that sometimes when you lose your way, that's when you find yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Why do we struggle so badly?
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing. And I think what I've noticed is, and let me know if this goes way too off topic. I don't think it is, but what I've noticed is we are trying so hard because we want to obtain a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get there. Like we want to get the happiness, or we want to get like the worth that we think the money is going to give us, or we want to get the confidence we think all the clients are going to give us, if we're talking in the entrepreneurial sense, or we want to get the confidence that the body's going to give us, right? When, if we stopped the trying, stopped the journey to get there, we could sink into that we can access all of that already right now.
Girl.
And that's when we come back into alignment. And that's when we work from there. That's when we're going with the flow, as they say, right?
Love it. Drop the mic. It's so true. The people that find the lovers, the people that find the clients, the people that enjoy life at home are the ones that aren't trying to be anything else. And it sounds so damn simple, but I know simple is not easy. It's
Exactly.
not.
Not
And
at
I
all.
think about my own journey into starting Aria, which, I chose that name because it's Sanskrit for anything but ordinary. And even with that, I ended up putting too much pressure on myself at times to be like, well, how do I stand out? How do I make it anything but ordinary? And it was like, no, bitch, it already is. Just by nature of you showing up as you, talking about what lights you up. It takes me back to volume 5 when you were describing, doesn't matter if there's a million beautiful women out in the world. You fell in love with the ones that you did for specific reasons.
Right.
Right? And even as a coach, even though you talk about a lot of the same things that other coaches talk about, there's that ineffable quality to you that is what's going to attract the right clients. And it really is about swimming parallel to the shore, just doing the thing.
It is. And it's really kind of akin to becoming the magnet instead of looking for something to stick onto, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's when we get back into that place, when we can fall back into that alignment, if you will, when we can come back to ourselves, we turn on our energetic magnetism. We let things start to come to us and form around us and be attracted to us instead of trying so hard to make things attracted to us, right?
Exactly. I was just thinking for me, it's more of a like washing off the magnet. Like the magnet's already there. You are already magnetic. So when you describe coming back to yourself, getting back in alignment, it really just feels like clearing off the crud so that the magnet can work.
Totally. Instead of trying to like roll in a little more dirt, being like, maybe this is what I need. Maybe this is what I need. Maybe this is the new layer I need, right? It's really just clearing it out instead of adding any more fixes, instead of adding anything else that we think we need to add to become in order to receive. We can become and receive right now.
So beautiful. Have you heard that quote by Francesca Leah Block? I think is how you pronounce her name. She says, if you want to find the trail, if you want to find yourself, you must explore your dreams alone. You must grow at a slow pace in a dark cocoon of loneliness so you can fly like wind, like wings when you awaken.
Shit, girl. How do you have all these on off the top of your head? Because every episode we do, you pull out some magical, beautiful quote or
I'm
passage.
obsessed.
I love it.
I love my type 4s. How about that?
I love it.
I'm not a type 4 in the Enneagram. I just surround myself with them. They make me swoon.
That was beautiful. Yeah, I love that. And I think it speaks so much to something that so many of us are afraid to do, which is be in that dark cocoon and experience our own magic. I see a lot of people rushing here and there and here and there to find and fix and find and fix and find and fix, because it can be scary to feel like you're in the cocoon, like you're changing, like you're going through a growth spurt, growing pains. It's not an easy road, right? It's to face all of our shit, to be with ourselves. But that's
even if
where
there's
the
not
magic is.
shit there, that's what's so funny is that sometimes, when you're struggling and people are like, maybe you just need to meditate. Maybe you just need to go sit by yourself and listen to music for a while. We get there and instantly our minds are like racing all over the place. It's like, sit with myself.
Yeah.
What?
So get out of here.
What? Even if there's nothing dark there to find, it's just sometimes as much as taking a couple quick breaths in between tasks. I don't know why we fight it so badly, because think about how good it feels I'm going to a water park with my kids today, to just float on your back. Like that is one of the best, and especially if your ears go below the water surface. Yeah. So it's like silence all of a sudden and you feel the sun. It's like, why am I fighting that experience?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because we're constantly seeking pleasure. I want more money. I want more clients. I want more this. I want more that. I want to go to brunch. I want to do this. I want to do that, right? With all the money that we have and all of this and all of that and all the confidence. Yet we have access to pleasure that we run away from in every moment by being fucking still and chilling the fuck out, right? And it's so funny that we avoid that pleasure in pursuit of outer pleasure, and thus throwing a wrench in our alignment or our connection to ourselves, or just ignoring it long enough for it to grow cobwebs, right?
Yeah. Again, hashtag humans are fascinating.
I know. It's so funny.
Oh, so can you share an experience that you had maybe recently, maybe way back when, where you woke up to the fact that you were off your path, not in alignment? You needed to come back to yourself. What was that like for you? How'd you do it?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'll just use the most recent one, which was actually this week. And I think that I'm always kind of feeling into variations of noticing that I'm off my path, right? Or out of connection with myself. This past week, I had a big week last week in terms of energy. I did a lot of things. I had a lot of women contact me about working with me. I did lives on my personal page, which for anybody in the entrepreneur world on Facebook probably knows that it's, do I go on my personal page or do I not? Right. And so even kind of stepping out of any kind of forms of hiding that I was doing. And it was really, really big. And I noticed, and not in a dramatic way, just like it felt like I was expansioning almost, And I started to notice that I was getting this craving to like look at what everyone else was doing and try to figure out my message through this woman's message, and try to figure out my set plan for where my business is going through what this person has done and how they've marketed and how they've done this and they've done that. And at some point, my body, everything in me just screamed like, stop, like just stop everything. Stop looking at anything online. Don't even do any work this week. Just stop. And so I did. I'm rarely called to do that for such a long time, to just walk away. And I did. And it has been phenomenal to even just let myself listen to what's percolating inside. Even just let myself listen to, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I feel fulfilled by? Do I want to do a live? Do I want to write a post? Do I want to do this? Do I not want to do any of that? And the answers that came out, a large part of the week were, no, sit and go meditate again. No, go lay in bed and take a nap, which you never do. No, just relax. I have the privilege to do that, right? I feel very fortunate that I can do that. But, except for my client calls this week, I just kind of hibernated. And it was terrifying, because what happened in my mind was, am I never going to get inspiration again? Am I never going to feel creative again? Am I a has-been? And all of these things you
were in the dark cocoon.
Yeah. And I just let it happen. I just surrendered. And I decided, okay, I'm going to do a little experiment. All of July, I'm just going to see what happens when I stay with myself the whole time and listen to myself the whole time, just to see what comes up, just to see what aligned action I take, what aligned ideas I talk about, what alignment I feel. And so I'm kind of in the process of it right now, the process of, shedding years of always looking for that fix to stay away from myself, or always staying on the surface of like, yeah, I'm connected to myself and I'm this and that, but I'm gonna step out of it any second, right? That kind of playing with that line. And so I'm in the process of it. I'm in the process of surrender, massive surrender.
I love it. You know what I'm curious about though, I've noticed that for each one of us, even just talking with you, the difference between the two of us, when we lose connection to ourselves, it presents very differently. How did you first begin to pick up on the fact that you were not walking in alignment, or you were starting to lose connection, that your magnet was getting rusty?
I think I have noticed when I'm trying to fix instead of feel, and it's taken awareness, and consistent awareness and practice and awareness to be able to see when I'm fixing instead of feeling. But I noticed that when I want to fix, I have certain patterns, like all of a sudden I'll be like knee deep in someone else's videos from like a year ago, trying to see if they have the answer that I'm looking for, and I'm like, I probably just need to sit with myself instead of like being knee deep in somebody else's videos. And I can tell the difference now. Like if I watch a training video or something, something from my mentor, it's a very different feel when I'm receiving information than when I'm frenzied looking for a fix. And I can just feel that difference in myself. And I can also feel when I don't want to sit with myself, when I don't want to do my mindset work, when I don't want to journal, when I don't want to meditate, when I, want to pick up my phone in the morning, because I typically don't touch my phone for the first couple of hours of the day. And I just start to notice the little things that come up, right? The little like addictions that it's like I reach for things. And when I'm reaching for things, I'm not going in. And so I notice when I start to reach. And that's really my process of it. Does yours look different?
Yeah, I actually think mine sounds way more basic bitch than that. I think.
What is yours?
I just think, again, that's probably the difference between a type 4 and a type 7. I stop enjoying things, right? Because for me, it's all about the experience. And I get really angsty and really judgy. And anything that takes me away from my natural, bubbly cheerleader type self.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
I no longer feel empowered. I feel needy. Yep. Yeah. Because at my best, it's not like I'm one of those, anybody who knows me would not describe me as like the typical blonde cheerleader, but I mean that in the sense of I naturally am always like, you got this, motherfucking yes. Like, it's my shaved head, let's go conquer the world side while embracing all the adventures and the wonder of life of, as much as I love to plan, you want to go have a picnic? All right, that sounds amazing. And when I am not in alignment with myself, I can't. I'm judging myself and I'm judging other people and I'm frustrated. There's just a sense of frustration and angst and exasperation.
Interesting. That's so interesting. And, as the 4, and 4s are known to have low self-esteem and look for fixes for themselves. I notice it when I don't feel creative. And that's really painful for me. I'm like, I have nothing to say. And like, I could still feel happy. I could still feel joy. I could still be like enjoying what I'm doing. But when I feel like I have nothing to say, that's when I start looking for a fix. Like, does somebody else have something that I could say? Right. And it's interesting because mine comes from that 4 of like, I need to fix myself.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about as a therapist. I was like, I wonder how we present differently, because I want listeners, like where the whole point of this series is to share our darkest vulnerabilities and so that they have an example of what it might look like and help normalize their experience. And so I just think it's really cool when we can dive a little bit into that psychology of the difference between the way that our psyches naturally work. Right. So what looks like coming back to yourself for me may not be what it is for you or anyone else. So I just know when I'm not experiencing that joy and magical wonder that is so inherent to me on a good day.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point to bring up, because I know as a listener of other things, we have a tendency to go, but how? How do I do it? How do I do it? Right. And so even understanding, and for all of our listeners, it is probably not the answer you want to hear, but it is a personal journey to understand, when am I not feeling connected to myself? How do I know that I'm not feeling connected to myself? What does feeling connected to myself even feel like? Do I know what it feels like? Am I aware of when I'm in that space and when I'm not? And am I aware of how it feels to fall out of it or be kind of close to it or be deep in the cocoon, right? And it really is one of those things. How do you get back into alignment? You ask yourself. And it's not the answer our ego likes, because it's like, give me the fucking roadmap, right?
Yes.
But the most powerful answer and the most powerful guidance is learn to guide yourself, and you will always have the map you need.
There's another Alexander Cavucci quote that I'm going to be putting on Facebook multiple times over.
I didn't even know what was going to come out as I was saying it. I was like, what's coming here?
See, that's, you could tell when she's in alignment, folks. That's the type 4 magic right there. Oh, wonderful. Memes by Alex. It's great.
I know.
So one of the first things that I always love to do when I'm not in alignment or I don't feel that connection to myself and other people, that's usually what shows up for me, is connections for other people, because I'm just naturally like, the magic of hanging out with others and the divine. is a this, not this list.
Ooh.
Make one. Or this, not that, whatever grammar works for you. As far as how do you know yourself? So for me, there's things like leader, not a follower.
Ooh.
Yes, I like being part of the tribe, but I just know, sevens, I love attention.
Yeah.
I do.
I get it.
So if we're, yeah, totally. So even if I am assisting with somebody else, like I want to be in there. I want to be in the center. I want to be like helping out, like part of the cause. So if I'm not doing that, then I know Tams is not acting like herself.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Another one for me is like pluralistic or inclusive, not individualistic or exclusive.
Mm.
So if I'm feeling the need to like pull back and mark my territory and, pull the drawbridges.
Yeah.
Something's off.
That's a great one. I find that I hide a lot when I am feeling out of alignment. Mm-hmm. Hiding is huge for me because I've done so much hiding, right? I was the mistress in multiple relationships. I hid my sexuality. I binge ate so I could hide my body. All of this hiding in my life became a habit. And so it becomes a default. When I feel like I'm not in alignment with myself, it becomes a default for me to hide because I don't want other people to see that. And because I don't want to see that, right? Mm-hmm. And then like that sense of shame comes in of like, I have something to hide. I notice when I feel in full alignment, I can share anything with anyone and still stand in my calm confidence of like, I have my back. I'm good.
Yes.
Even if you judge me, I'm good. Even if you disagree with me, I'm good. I'm cool with that. I respect you because I respect me. When I fall out of alignment, when I'm trying to fix instead of feel, I want to hide because I have thrown a wrench into that confidence. I'm looking again for a fix, right? And
I love that.
Yeah, it's a huge one.
So that's like my first like big encouragement to everyone is make a list of your this, not that, to include everything down to blue, not black. I mean, like the fastest way to feel connected to you again is to know who you are, like Alex was just saying, right? So it could even be, I don't know, almond milk instead of regular milk or cotton blend instead of polyester. Like what the feck ever is you?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Put them down. And if you're having a bad day, pull that list back up and be like, yep, that's me. Okay. I hear you. It's just a good starting point.
Totally.
But you just said something that I thought was truly magical, that when you are out of alignment, you always say things that are magical.
What did I say?
You really do.
Yeah.
That you hide. And then when you're doing that, it's like you're this is my Tam's paraphrase, you're a hell of a lot more likely to be reactive to other people. Whereas when you are grounded in your truth, you can embrace everybody's everything. It doesn't matter if they're agreeing with you or not, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This brings me to my connection and history with spirituality and this quote I want to lay on you, Alex, that I actually did write down because it's a little wordy, from Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha. Mm-hmm. Have you read that one?
I have, a long time ago.
Oh, good. Well, let me quote some of the magic back to you. He wrote, "No, a true seeker, one who truly wished to find, could accept no doctrine. But the man who has found what he sought, such a man could approve of every doctrine, each and every one, every path, every goal. Nothing separated him any longer from all those thousands of others who lived in the eternal, who breathed in the divine."
I'm like waiting for you to keep going. Just read the rest.
Nope.
Just read the rest. Read the rest of the book to me, please. So soothing. I just like relaxed in my chair, started looking out at the trees, closed my eyes. I'm ready for like reading time with Tim.
I'm going to do it, man. Audible, call me.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, Audible, call her.
Seriously. But I love that quote because it takes me back to the first thing that I know to be true about myself. I am naturally pluralistic. It's what really made me struggle in my own, I'm getting teary, in my own spiritual walk growing up. Because no matter what church they planted me in, I naturally wanted to like adjust and adopt and adapt, and I saw the beauty in it. But I also was like, I don't know why there's a God bless us for and no more mentality going on.
Yeah. So
that makes sense.
What age did you start noticing this?
Like 5. No, seriously.
How was that for you? I mean, to be in, I think religion itself is a very interesting thing because, and especially for someone like you who appreciates so much, right? To put you in a box or in in a rule book, if you will. What was that experience like for you?
The situation that stands out most to me is when we were living in Japan and I was 9 years old and I wanted to be first baptized, right, in water. My spiritual path, that's common because that's your outward sign of devotion to the spiritual path of your choice, right? Mm-hmm. So in this case, it was a non-denominational church, but Christianity saying, I've committed my life to Christ and I want you all to see this. This is my outward sign. And then because my family is Pentecostal, right after that, there's always this pressure to become baptized in the Holy Spirit, which for the Pentecostal denominations, the outward expression of that will be you speaking in tongues. Or like, I know everyone's like, oh God, the crazies. Yes, those. Sorry. I can now explain it from neuroscience on the other side. It's ecstatic worship. It's what every worldview on the planet has a version of, and it's mystical path that when you are so lost in the flow, logical words that make sense to other people aren't necessary anymore. It's you communicating to the divine.
Right.
There's a sense of that in every religion. But anyway, there was this pressure, and here I am, 9 years old, wanting to please, and I've always been a seeker. So, I mean, to me, that was the pinnacle. I mean, I'm also competitive. So I was like, there's this achievement level that supposedly gets unlocked. Yeah. When you get baptized in the Holy Spirit. But it was also, that was supposedly my secret way of talking to God. I mean, who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Right? As a child, that was like mystical wonder, perfection. So you have to start praying for and ask God. And I'm praying, and girl, I'm praying, and I'm watching all these other people get it. And every church service, I'm like, oh, it's going to happen. And people said, stop worrying about it. It'll just happen when it happens. It could hit you in the car. It could hit you at school. And my brain, my ego just took it and ran with it and was like, okay. So literally all day, every day, I'm like, God, when can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? I love you. Like, what am I not doing right for you? Why can't I have this gift? Is it sin? Is it, what do I need to confess? And so I'm like confessing 24/7, trying to think of what's blocking me from this special gift. And I was in a church service and I literally had the pastors and ministers and the, other well-going church members surrounding me like you would see on a movie, literally hands on my head, both sides of my head. I'm sobbing. They're trying to they're jiggling my cheeks and they're saying, everyone's giving me just practice, just start saying hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah over and over again, which now my brain, even at 9, is going, that feels contrived. To the point that There's also people, I joke about it now, but there are people that will even say things like, I bought a Hyundai, should have bought Honda, over and over again. Wow. I look back, right? So ridiculous. Well-intended. I'm not shitting on Christianity. Don't send me hate mail. But so I'm doing everything that I could. And in my head, though, what I'm thinking about now was when you're searching like you were, searching through other people's videos and stuff. And when I'm searching, having all these people trying to help me out, they literally were putting someone else's words in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by me attempting to follow their plan, it just made it 10 times harder and increased the shame and the frustration and the angst for me.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
And what's fascinating is, it wasn't that day. It was probably a day or two later. I did have an experience that I can't explain now of ecstatic worship, and the language just came. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to put words on it now because I have similar experiences when I'm channeling. Mm-hmm. And some mediums, I don't know if you've had readings with multiple ones, they do speak in language that's not a real language, or real as in earthly.
Right.
They say that they're, channeling interplanetary beings or whatever. Interestingly enough, it's the same part of the brain that lights up with emotion. So the same part of ecstasy, neuroscience wise, or when you when you take mood altering drugs, substances, that part of your brain lights up. So that part where you have this experience of separation between you and anything else just falls out, and you're lost in that happy flow. So to bring it back around, when we're talking about the sense of, for me, I know that I'm not in alignment when I'm no longer exclusive. When I'm no longer inclusive. Now I'm being very exclusive, and there's one way to do this, and you has to be done that way. I woke up to that at a very early age and realized that that was not true for myself. And I did not like having other people tell me how to connect with the divine and how to connect with other people.
That's a really young age to reject what you're being told is right.
Right.
Which to me, I heard like you knew from a young age that you thrive in alignment with who you are, not with what is told to you.
Right. And so as we continue to move churches and move locations on the planet, what was fascinating to me is we'd leave that church service, right, in downtown Yokohama, and we'd go visit like the Great Buddha in Kamakura, and suddenly I'm like, this is amazing too. I saw the divine in all of it, and I did not understand this exclusive mentality. And so I love that quote from Siddhartha about when you are so grounded, it's exactly what you said, Alex, when you're so grounded in who you are, you're able to embrace all the things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I flew to Dubai, and I'm standing in a mosque, and I was just like, same happy spirit bumps and same feeling of ecstatic worship falls over me. And I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So type 7.
I love that. And I think that's, I think that everybody has access to that power of flow and connection and alignment when we allow it, and it's funny, we don't even have to find it or strive for it. We just have to allow it. Mm-hmm. We just have to sink in and listen and feel our way around.
Exactly. And you just make it so much harder when you're trying to do it the way anybody else would do it.
Right.
Because even the most conservative of Christians will tell you it's about a personal relationship. Well, how does that happen? Right. You have to be able to sit with yourself and experience the divine on your own terms.
Yeah, and on some level, anything besides sitting with yourself is a fix instead of a feel, right? Mm-hmm. On some level, no matter how much, you could go read and study for your entire life and never allow yourself to sit with what you've learned, to sit with your own feelings, to sit with your own emotions. You can know more than, half of the people on this earth and still not connect to who you are. You can be, and I'm sure you can be a personal development guru and still not connect to who you are. And so I think that it can happen to anyone anywhere, but anyone anywhere can also experience it, right? And it's really, really powerful to know that we have that much power. I think it scares quite a few people. I think it's scary to me sometimes. Like, wow, I can feel all of this, but it's juicy and delicious.
It is. It's so wonderful when you wake up to the fact that no matter your worldview or proclivities, that you are by nature hardwired to connect with something, someone outside of yourself. Mm. And rather than looking to the guru, to the next personal development coach, I'm not saying those things are bad, we'll get to that, to just your pastor telling you how to do things, that the divine energy, your past over loved ones, whatever works for you is always right there. Mm-hmm. And that is what I learned even at 5. Like, that's what I didn't understand, was I was already having those experiences. I just didn't know that other people thought it was supposed to go through somebody else first.
Right.
I was like, You're talking about, I talk to my angels. Like, I see Michael all the time. I don't, okay. What I now would call claircognizance, they were calling gifts of prophecy. I just knew things, and it didn't occur to me that I needed to have a formula. And it's so funny that as grownups, you were talking about that the ego loves steps. We love formulas.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And I mean, I love formulas. Like I am, there is not enough knowledge in this world that could feed all of my curiosity.
Amen,
However, if not aware, I can use that as a fix, right? If not aware, I can use that as something to run away.
Mm-hmm. That's really the difference between knowledge and embodied wisdom, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it sounds like what helps you personally get back to yourself is being alone and meditating for one. Anything else?
Yeah, I think this sounds funny and it's so easy, but looking up instead of looking down.
Yes.
Looking at, we tend to do this thing where we go about our day and our patterns, and we know what our morning routine is. We know what our schedule is. We know what this is. And oftentimes that can lead us into this space of having blinders on, right? Blinders to things around. So one way that I really connect is to actually look around at my surroundings and take those blinders off and start to look up at the sky more, start to look up at the trees more. And it allows me to remember that I am, first of all, part of everything. And I'm in this game with everything else. I'm a player in this game. I'm not separate, and I'm here. When I actually open my eyes, and I mean physically look around, which sounds a little funny, but I have a tendency to look down or to walk with my head down or my eyes down or whatever, or be engrossed in my computer. When I actually look around, I start to remember that I am here. And when I start to remember that I'm here, I have no choice but to connect and to feel it. And then it's my decision if I continue and dive into that, or if I go back to whatever was keeping me out of it. But meditation, nature, disconnecting from the internet are all really, really important for me. What about you?
I love it. Yes, those, although I was instantly going back to how opposite we are. I naturally am looking up and around at everything else.
I love that.
Which is how I know, once again, that I'm not being in total TAMS. I'm stuck in that this, not this list if I'm not doing that. And I am stuck in my phone. Mm-hmm. So for me, yes, meditation, but I tend to like meditation with music. I think music is an incredible way of reconnecting to emotions because of the way it lights the brain up. Movement is powerful for me. I have to get up, get out of my head. And so dance, yoga, cartwheeling in my living room, taking a walk in nature. I love that because you're really getting so many added benefits when you do that. Venting and processing, but with trusted advisors. So I really want to give a psychological disclaimer on that one. Like, people think they're doing themselves a favor when they just get on social media or they call someone instantly, which means you're not sitting with yourself, number one.
Right.
And venting. But there's this psychological phenomenon that occurs when we're co-ruminating. And we end up energetically, on the woo side of things, passing that low vibration back and forth. And so it's very important to make sure, whether we're talking just strict psychology and or woo, that you are processing with someone who isn't going to be in the shit with you.
Right. They can stand
who's going to be, yes, hold the sacred container for me. Yes, empathize with me. Don't try to pull me out of it, because that's not helpful. But
don't get sucked into it.
Yes, is going to be able to give me loving truth.
Right. That's huge. That's huge. And that also, in my experience, is done best with people who take time to connect to themselves.
Right. So this is why I love working with, this is where the mentors, the gurus, the healers, the counselors, the coaches do come in.
Right.
Family members, friends, they're awesome, but they are not trained in holding that space. So unless they've had, they're the sage in your family or something,
right.
Unless they're the wise woman,
right.
You just need to be careful. And you can Google this. There's a lot of studies on co-rumination. This is why statistically, not to shit on us girls, but female friendships often are more on the unhealthy side than male friendships, because men don't tend to co-ruminate as often as women do.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, I'm like doing a quick search of all of my past, being like, oh yeah,
Yeah. And how often have you, I don't know, it's often my experience that I go to talk to someone who I would think could process with me well, but instantly all they do is start talking about their own shit.
Yeah. Or I've had the experience where I go to talk about my shit, even knowing that like, I know that it's processing and need to let it out with somebody that I have processed with and let things out before or assume that they can handle it. And I notice in some instances, even after asking somebody for space, like, can you help me talk through this? They shut it out because they don't want to get sucked in.
Yep.
Right. Or like, well, then why don't you just do this? Or do you want to keep focusing on that?
Advice giving.
Right. And that's a really unique experience as well, because it's, I don't want them to come down into it, but to witness it. And their experience is like, I'm not coming down into that shit. It's like, well, I wasn't asking you to, so maybe we won't do this again. But yeah, it does require finding somebody. And I would even venture to say communicating that with somebody. I've got a really good friend who's not in the entrepreneurial space, who is an art therapist. And we were roommates in college, our first year of college, up until like forever. And we're still great, great friends. And she is one of the few with whom I can say anything to and she doesn't get pulled down. And she can say anything and I don't get pulled down. And we can give each other a healthy dose of truth. And we talk about it with each other. Like, I love that you don't get pulled into my stuff. I liked that you did this. That felt really funny for me. Are you feeling this way? And because we've communicated it out, we've created a space in which we can do that without judgment and without pulling each other down, right?
I love that. I was just listening to a podcast the other day on mentorship and setting aside a mission statement for relationships like that. And even in friendships and marriages, the power of saying, why does this friendship exist? What are we coming together to do? And so if you have someone that you are processing with, I love having, once you know the purpose of that relationship, it makes everything else just fall in alignment to it. The podcaster was even giving an example of setting a mission statement for his marriage, and part of the things was like helping allow other people to feel comfortable. Like that's what they wanted their marriage to be able to do, and that included making decisions right down to what type of furniture they bought for their living room. And I was like, so like when you want people to come in, how do you want them to feel? How do you know, and I just loved it. It really reminds me of what you're describing right now, or the books I've read on spiritual partnerships. And we probably should do another whole podcast on that.
Because that would be a good one.
What a beautiful relationship that you have with your friend.
And it's funny, we talk about our friendship as though we're witnessing it. Like,
exactly.
Over the last 10 years, I met her when we were young. We were little 18-year-old chickadees. And within the first week, we were at the dining hall and I was like, do you want to live together forever? And she was like, yeah, okay, we'll be roommates forever. And we just kind of had this knowing. And since the beginning of our relationship, we talk about our relationship like we're watching it. And we are very aware that we have a friendship to be grateful for and to be proud of, that we've worked on from a non-judgmental place, and from a place of like, yeah, sometimes you're going to piss me off, but I don't hold it against you. And I'm going to call you on some stuff, but I'm also not trying to take you out of the space that you need to be at, right? And it's funny. Sometimes we'll just be hanging out and I'll be like, we have created a really unique friendship. You know that? And she's like, yeah, I think about that a lot. And it's cool to witness it with each other without agenda.
Right. That's what I mean. So when the process of coming back to yourself, it can be a powerful tool if you don't just rush into it and you have the right person to do it with, because she's able to be the mirror for you and to not just be your yes man, which helps you come back to yourself.
Totally.
So awesome. So that's a big one for me. I love process, but only with the right people, or you're going to end up in a worse place than you were before.
And so are they, right?
Take that with a grain of salt.
Totally.
I also love, because I am such a lover of all the type 4s, when I'm stuck, I love going to sacred readings and poetry.
Ooh, that's a good one. I was just thinking as you were bringing that up, I was like, sometimes I reread my own poetry to access who I was and how I was feeling in a particular moment.
There you go. So like some of my favorites, ironically, still the Bible sometimes, because now that I have a totally different view of looking at it, it's quite fascinating. There's some good shit in there, just as long as you're not taking it too literally, people.
Yeah.
Also like David White, Khalil Gibran.
David White.
Oh my God. John O'Donohue. Love me some Anam Cara. Rumi. Hello.
Oof.
Rumi. The Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, like all of them, because I'm so pluralistic, I find inspiration in, and I get that sense of wonder and magic back. And then I'm like, oh yeah, hey Tams, welcome back.
That's a really, really powerful thing. And it's interesting, you know, just like falling in love with people, not every poet or writer will do it for you. But when you find the ones that do, it can bring you right back to the heart of yourself. And you're like, holy shit, that was the fast track. That was the, you know, Amtrak Express right back to me.
Yeah, I think that's why devotionals and daily meditation practices are so powerful for people. I think it's why it works psychologically.
Yeah.
And then this last one, you're totally going to laugh at, and I'm not even an animal person, but I hear asking yourself, what would your pet say?
Oh,
it's
you
really
just
good.
opened my world. Because you know I am.
I thought of you.
I'm a devoted dog mama, and
right.
It's funny. Dre and I are often like, we sit on the couch. We're like, he's probably looking at us like, you bitches.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a really good one. He's got attitude. Mine's got attitude. He would definitely kick my ass. He'd be like, bitch, stop whining.
Exactly.
That's a good question to start asking myself.
You're welcome. So we go from sacred readings to what would the Labradoodle say?
I love it. I love it.
Something for everyone here.
Yeah. And I think the important thing to note is, number one, there is something for everyone, and you can find yours anytime you need it or want it. You can explore new variations of it. It is your masterpiece to create, right? Alignment and coming back to yourself is your own masterpiece, is the book that you are writing, is the you know, tune that you are always singing or humming. And so it is yours. And that can feel scary to a lot of people. But when you can surrender into that, when you can see that as a fun exploration, it opens up worlds and it takes away rules and walls and shoulds, and it becomes this beautiful unfolding. And in that is probably the answer to a lot of the questions you have.
Bam. Drop the mic. I was going to say, sometimes I just like having like a few like Tam sayings or mantras too, to bring myself back. You'll often see in movies with like people who are in AA or something, they'll be walking around, they get stuck saying like progress, not perfection, right? Yeah. Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Quick fix. And sometimes, this is my woo side coming through, I just like to take a breath, close my eyes, and feel the air vibrate around me. Because you can, if you pay attention, like we're all energy, right? And so just noticing the energy of the universe, and sometimes just setting up like a quick prayer of like, help me right now.
Yeah, I love that.
Whatever you believe in, help me.
I love that.
It usually gets me out of my own head pretty quickly. Like, let me feel you. Let me feel you. It's interesting. I know we're winding down, but my daughter, that just reminded me, we had this experience in the car once where it was a couple of years ago. So she may have been 9 or 10, my youngest, my sassy one. And there was a tornado warning, like literally near us. Like we were going through the alert, trying to get home from dinner. And she was freaked out and she thought I was crying. She was like, what are you doing? And I was like, Mommy's just giving herself a little bit of Reiki, self-Reiki. And she was like, oh, cool. I said, it helps me. And she's actually level 1 trained. And so I said, why don't you offer it to yourself? And she did. And I said, sometimes when I'm scared, I just ask for my archangels to help me feel them. I said, Mommy's really connected to Archangel Michael. Like he's my fave. He's just ferocious and fierce. And Mommy loves that about him. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah. So things got quiet. I didn't think much of it. And she was like, oh my God, Mom. She's like, I just felt him tap my shoulder. And I said, are you serious? She was like, yeah, look. She's like, I'm covered in goosebumps. And I thought, how cool that children, they don't expect, you know what I mean? They don't interpret. They don't put expectations on things. Right. There's no editing there. She was like, I'll give that a shot. And within 2 seconds, she was having an experience.
Yeah. And it's really cool to see kids do that because they don't have the filters that we have created for ourselves of, 20, 30 plus years of conditioning and thinking and overthinking and worrying and they're just like, cool, let me give it a try. Right. And we all have access to that. It takes maybe a little bit more practice for some, depending on how little they've been listening to themselves, but we all have access to that. We all get to be kids.
Yes, because even if you don't believe in anything outside of yourself, your brain is well trained, well conditioned, well evolved, whatever you believe in, to allow for instant relaxation if you'll only open up to it.
Yeah.
You tell your brain where to go and it sends out the appropriate neurotransmitters. So give it a shot, peeps.
Love it.
Alex, any final thoughts for our listeners?
As always, so many, but I'm sure ones that'll fill subsequent podversations. So no, I think the last thing I would say is number one, it's worth it to come back to yourself. It's very worth it. And number two, you're safe. You're safe with yourself, even when it feels a little scary to walk into that cocoon. So try it out. Have fun finding your way back.
Yeah, total Tam's fashion. I would just say march to the beat of your own drum.
Yeah.
Make your own music.
Yeah.
That's where the magic is. All right. Until next time, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Undressing the Spirit podcast. I pray you found some inspiration and titillation today. As always, I am forever grateful for 5-star reviews, comments, and subscriptions on iTunes and anywhere else you may be listening to this broadcast. Please note the information provided is not meant to convey professional, psychological, or medical advice. If you could use such services, I highly recommend seeking them out from someone you trust. To get in touch with me personally, please check out ariatherapy.com or talesfromatrapezoid.com. Until next time, everyone.